can we build sustainable tourism? How can we build opportunities for people like ourselves, people in the Caribbean, people of Caribbean heritage, and also Caribbean people across the diaspora, really, to control our kind of economic situation through tourism. As we know, the Caribbean islands are some of the most beautiful parts of the world. They are often described as idyllic. They are seen as a #1 tourist destination for many people. And yet we still have across the Caribbean serious issues around economic viability, around outcomes in health, housing, etc. And so we're looking at how can we use the beauty and the gifts that we were given in the Caribbean to build capacity for our people. So this is the 13th episode. We are now a teenager officially. So we are walking and talking and
ISIS. Okay. Natasha, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, she's frozen.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, she's...
Isis, we lost you. And your microphone is... Your microphone is mute.
I'm still right here. I'm gonna keep the energy going while Isis gets her technical side fixed, etc. But essentially, obviously, what Isis is saying is that we've grown this platform over the last few weeks to months, etc. And things are moving forward rapidly and expeditiously, and today we are glad, Natasha, to have you on board, joining us today. And obviously once Isis comes back on, obviously because the reason why I gave her the position as the host is because even though I can talk when I need to, she's very great at what she does, and she's allowed us to really strive forward on to better and bigger things. So, but yeah, whenever you are sort of ready to start describing the beautiful island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you can start. You're on mute at the moment, Natasha.
Wonderful. Would I need to share my screen or?
Yeah, definitely. Share your screen.
Are you able to see my screen now? Atiba, are you seeing my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen. I can see your screen. Sorry, I was on mute.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So, well, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is definitely a player in the tourism industry now. However, that has not always been the case. In fact, we are what you could call an emerging destination. Most of our economy is really propped up by agriculture, and tourism is fast on its heels. For those persons who don't know exactly where we are located, we're in the southeastern part of the Caribbean between St. Lucia and Grenada and Barbados. And St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a multi-island destination of 32 islands and keys, 9 of which are inhabited and 3 of which are island resorts only, which means that for persons who are looking for that island escape, it's a perfect opportunity in that particular part of the world, because we have escapes where you can go just to have an island all by yourself. Now, some fun facts about the destination that persons might not be aware of. Vincentians are usually known as Vincentians. It's not St. Vincentian as often we've been called, or for short, Vincies. And of course, primary language is English, and we use the Eastern Caribbean currency. Just like the typical Caribbean, it's 2 seasons. So we are open for tourism all year round, perfect for any time of the year, anytime you want that escape. It's just the dry and the rainy season. Now, we recently opened an international airport in 2017, and this has been a real game changer for us. Since then, we've been able to attract flights from the UK, flights from America, and flights from Canada as well. At present, we have Virgin Atlantic coming from LHR to SVD twice weekly, Wednesdays and on Sundays, which provide a perfect opportunity for persons from the UK as well as from the European continent to use this as a hub to get to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Now, once you're in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you land on St. Vincent, and we like to push the destination as an island hopping opportunity for persons who want to have multiple islands in one vacation. And once you land on St. Vincent, you have the opportunity to spend some days on that island and choose 1 or 2 others to have that multi-island hopping experience. For persons who don't necessarily want to use those particular 2 days of the week, we have an information desk in Barbados, because Barbados is still a regional hub for the southeastern part of the Caribbean. And this is to help persons who are coming to the destination and who may be in transit. So that desk is open daily from 1 to 8 p.m. And anyone who wishes to get to the destination or who may need just a bit more help while they're in transit can always seek that particular desk. Now, as I mentioned before, the destination is a multi-island destination, and as such, there are multiple ways of getting around the various islands. It's mainly via air, but most Vincentians tend to use the water transport. Now, most persons might not know, but St. Vincent and Grenadines is made up of mostly water than land. In fact, we have 4.5 times more water than land. So we are quite comfortable traveling via water. And we always encourage our guests to, if you want to have that Vinci vibe, that Vinci experience, to use the water transport versus the air. But of course, as you know, air is more convenient for those persons who just want to get to that specific island within the destination very quickly and just relax and start their vacation immediately. But if you want to experience it like a true Vinci, use the water transport. It gives you an opportunity to experience the pristine water that we have throughout the destination and just move around like a local. Get that vibes, get the communication going one-on-one with the local persons on those transports. So that's my favorite way to get around the island, and I always recommend persons to do it. It's also the most economical way to see the destination. As a multiple island destination, we tend to focus on principal niches, and our 4 main niches are snorkeling and diving, because as I mentioned before, we have more water than land, and we want to utilize that and entice persons to just come and use that aspect. We're also known as the critter capital of the Caribbean. Again, because we're new to the tourism game, we're not a mature destination. We still have the luxury of having a lot of undisturbed, unspoiled environs, and we encourage persons to just take advantage of that. Now, the destination has over 100 dive sites and has wreck diving, it has wall diving, excellent snorkeling, and just a myriad of options for persons who want to experience that tropical Caribbean type vacation. Another of our primary niche is the eco adventures. Now, St. Vincent is the principal island, and that is the eco center as well of the destination. That is a volcanic island that has a very majestic volcano, La Soufrière, one of my favorite features on the island. And it's also responsible for our rich, diverse agricultural exploits. And it's one of the highlights of our eco adventures. The destination also have numerous nature trails, most of which are located on St. Vincent, but each of the major islands also have their own trails. There are stunning waterfalls on St. Vincent because that's the volcanic part of the destination. That's where all of the waterfalls actually are located on St. Vincent. And we have whale and dolphin watching throughout the destination, as well as many colorful gardens, both on St. Vincent and throughout each of the major islands. Now, as I mentioned before, water is a big part of the destination, and sailing and yachting is, of course, one of our top niches. And because of our location in the Southeastern Caribbean, we've been blessed over the years in terms of not having major hurricanes, but of course, this is something that's left up to nature. But again, we give thanks for our strategic location. Now, the temperatures, as I would have mentioned previously, are perfect for all year round vacationing. Now, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, though it's an archipelago of multiple islands, these islands are spread within easy distance. So for persons who like to sail, you would not be too far at sea without seeing some type of land, whether it be an island or a key. And of course, the destination has numerous bays and beaches for persons who just want to dock and enjoy that type of vacation. Our fourth primary niche is that of romance. We pride ourselves on weddings and honeymoons. And in fact, the destination is currently overhauling the time period that's needed for visitors to be in the destination before they get married. At present, it's 24 hours, and visitors to the destination usually have to come to the capital to do their registration, marriage license, and so forth. But at present, the destination is working on simplifying this and extending offices in the Grenadines so that persons would not have to travel to the capital to make it easier. The details of this should be finalized before 2023 is out. So we'd have more details to share with persons on that particular aspect. We also have quite a lot of festivals. And some of the featured ones that are noteworthy are the Bekwai Music Festival, which includes artists from mostly regional artists that descend on Bekwai in January of each year to enjoy different types of music. And this happens on Bekwai. There are also locations that the music festival would, for this particular music festival, sorry, I was thinking about another music festival. It's mainly on Bekwai. Now, I did not mention it here, but there's also another music festival on Mustique that has locations on St. Vincent as well. And that also takes place in the first quarter of the year. Another prime festival that we like to tell persons about is the Bekwai Easter Regatta. This happens around Easter every year, and it's one of the most noteworthy regattas in the Caribbean. You have persons coming from all parts of the world, including within the region as well, to take part in yacht racing, double-ender racing. It's usually a very exciting time in the destination, and especially on Bekwai. This is the #1 festival for Bekwai, and during that time, for persons who like excitement in terms of parties, there are that sort of excitement for the land party lovers, as well, of course, as excitement for those who just want to take part in the racing. It also incorporates events for teenagers and smaller children. So it's a real family affair and something that we encourage everybody to just come and enjoy at least once. It should always be on your bucket list. At least once in your lifetime, you should experience the Peque Easter Regatta. Now, Vincimas is considered our top festival. And this particular festival, we label it as the hottest mass in the Caribbean. And this happens in the height of summer. Now, hottest mass in the Caribbean refers to the time of year when it happens, when the summer is just perfect at its peak, and as well as in terms of the enjoyment. It is considered to be one of those mass where it's not just about feathers and the impy, skimpy bathing suits. Mass men still take their time to create and craft that old world mass that carnival within the Caribbean was first known for. So in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, that is still very much present. Of course, you have the bands that give you the impy skimpies with lots of feathers for those persons who want to show off their muscles and their figure. So we always welcome that part of the mass as well. But for those of us who just want to, live in the true meaning of carnival, going back to the essence of what that art craft was, come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines to experience that. Just don't take my word for it, huh? And one of the festivals that I would like to point out as well, that's very unique to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is the 9 Mornings Festival that takes place 9 mornings before Christmas. For us, Christmas is a very big celebration, and we go all out as a people for Christmas. It represents just more than a Christian holiday for us. It's the time of year when family get together, when family just show their love and support, not just for your family, but for your neighbor and so forth. And we see it as a time to just socialize as well. So 9 mornings before Christmas, there are activities throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The biggest activities tend to be in Kingston, though each village would have their own. And it incorporates caroling, it incorporates activities like early morning sea bathing, friendly competitions, anything that you could think of that would be a vibe for a community just to experience and share with one another is what happens during this time. And we encourage persons to come, share our Christmas spirit, just enjoy that aspect at this time of the year. So 9 mornings is one of, as I said, one of the most unique aspect of our festivals. And it's this will only be happening in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's very specific to us. Now, in the destination, we have multiple types of accommodations. A lot of times persons, when they hear St. Vincent and the Grenadines, especially in the UK, they tend to think of only luxury accommodation and only luxury vacations. But the destination offers not just luxury, but from budget right up to luxury. And we have different types of accommodation to meet the different pockets, from apartments to guest houses, boutique hotels, island resorts, as I would have initially mentioned, and villas. So anything that your pockets can handle, we have on offer. Now, one of the things that I must mention here is that I work with the Tourism Authority, and the Tourism Authority is an entity that is responsible not only for marketing the destination, but also for crafting standards for the destination. And one of the standards that the destination has crafted is that for accommodations. So we currently have what is called a tourism approved standard, which means that properties that sign on to this standard must meet a minimum standard for tourism entities or for visitors. Now, this means that your property has to be inspected. It means that you have to go through training in different areas. So this at the end of the day ensures that visitors get a better standard or a better quality of accommodation once it is tourism approved. And that is something that I want persons to pay attention to. So when you're coming to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, make sure you check for the tourism approved logo before you book your properties. Within recent years, we have been striving to get more accommodations within the destination, more legit tourism approved accommodations. And we have some new ones that opened within recent years. For example, the La View Boutique Hotel and Beach Club, that's one of our most recent openings. This happened in 2021, and it's a fully restored tobacco house. There are 19 boutique style rooms, and this particular type of accommodation is on the luxury end. There are 5 bars and restaurants on offer, and it also has one of the largest pool deck in the Caribbean. In fact, I believe it is the largest pool deck in the Caribbean. So for persons who want that beautiful sea view when you're getting married, or for your picturesque social scenes, this is an enticing location for you just to do that. Also, St. Vincent and the Grenadines has the only Soho beach house in Canada. This is another of the luxury type of accommodation. And this, as mentioned, is the only Soho property in the Caribbean, and that's located on our island, Canada. It opened in March 2021. There are 40 rooms, all ocean-facing balcony type rooms, and the property includes a restaurant, deli, boutique, and fitness studio. Now, one of the features that you may hear about is that some of our properties, they are enticing persons who want to detect from technology. So sometimes you may find that some of these properties don't have televisions in the room, or they don't offer Wi-Fi in the room, because the whole point is to get you into that paradise escape mood, help you to enjoy your vacation and just detect. Also, we have some properties that we're anticipating to be open soon. One of these is the Sandals Beaches Resort, which will be in the area of the country called Bocaement Bay. It will be the first beaches resort in the Eastern Caribbean. When it's completed, it's meant to have 300 rooms, and the anticipated completion time would be in the 4th quarter of this year. We are very excited about it. It's going to be a game changer for us. And this is something that we encourage persons to stay tuned to. Also, at present, we have a new luxury property that is opening around this particular time. I believe that they have already done their soft launch, and their official launch will be coming sometime in June, and that's Maya's Hotel. We also have some others that are impending, which would be Royal Mill Residences and Suites, Marriott International Hotel, Holiday Inn Express and Suites. So the point of this is to let visitors know that we are working on expanding our inventory so that they will have more options once they come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines in terms of accommodation. We want to have a variety that would allow the visitor to feel comfortable in terms of the offerings, and in terms of having different branded hotels that they would be familiar with, because that's one of the things that our destination presently don't have a lot of. We have quite a few boutique properties, but not a lot of the branded properties that some visitors are accustomed to staying in. Now, as you can imagine, we're not just about sea, sand, and fun. We have quite a few other offerings, and some of these include our Madeira Valley Forest Park. This is actually one of our newest or latest offering. This is a park that incorporates artistic styles as well as preserves. The intention is to preserve the dry forest area of the coastal area, that is. Now, at present, the fees that are generated from this park is reinvested to ensure that preservation of those coastal types of trees and so forth will carry on into the future. So this is an important aspect of preservation, as well as our attempts at sustainability within our own small area. So it's something that I would encourage persons, when you come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, try to get involved in these types of ventures, because you give back to the community in a way by ensuring that sustainable efforts can carry on. Another feature activity that I like to point out to visitors would be that of our Richmond Vale tours. This is one that allows persons to meet the locals, go out into various villages and sample fresh produce. And this particular tour operator has a very soft spot for female farmers. So some of the farmers that you would meet would be those that are specifically female, and those who specialize in smaller farms. They have a penchant for organic farming, and again, sustainability is a very important aspect of this. As I mentioned before, we're not just all about the luxury. And one of my favorite places to talk about in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is that of a bush bar. Bush bar is located at the mouth of a rainforest, and it's a very rootsy farm to table type of joint where you just sit back, relax, and it's as if you're amongst friends. Food is usually served, as you can see in this picture, in a calabash, and it's usually what we'll call Rastafarian style, very vegetarian type cuisine. I would also like to point out that we currently have the first West Indian medicinal cannabis consumption lounge in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which recently opened. Here you will be able to get prescription and over-the-counter products. Now, it will be very difficult for me to tell you about St. Vincent and the Grenadines without talking about rum. Like many Caribbean islands, rum is an important part of our history. And one of the things that I like to point out is that in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have a very strong rum, though not the strongest white rum in the world, as some people maybe believe, but for me, it's the best tasting strong rum. And it's one of the things that if you come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you must try. Now, the factory that produces the St. Vincent and Grenadines Sunset Strong Rum does a tour that is very popular. And this is a tour that has to be scheduled. It goes through the history of the factory, which has a wealth of information behind of it. It also gives you the opportunity to taste the array of award-winning rums that they produce, not just the Sunset Very Strong Rum. So this is something, again, I would always tell people to check out once they're in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. One of the newest things that we have in the destination as well is a roving bar in Beckway. This bar floats, and it's one of those places where if you want to experience a really nice cocktail underwater without having to make it yourself, this is the place to go. You can either pull up with alongside with your own vessel, or you can take a water taxi and just mosey on over and enjoy a drink. They're known for some fantastic rum punch, and I'm sure most persons would hear that wherever they go, but I can attest to that. The rum punches are just fantastic. Another event that I would like to push would be that of the kite surfing in the Grenadines. We have a kite surfing center and school that teaches persons who want to learn about kite surfing, and they also cater for persons who want to perfect, who are kite surfers and want to perfect their craft. Now, there are various packages on offer from the school itself. So I can always encourage persons to check Jetty Pro Center for their kite surfing holiday. The Tobago Keys is another feature that I like to speak about, because I mentioned it several times before, and I can't state it enough. We have more water than land. And it's important, our water is very important to us, because not only are we big in agriculture and dependent on agriculture, but we also depend a lot on our marine environment. And this Tobago Keys Marine Park is a reserve that allows for the replenishing of fish, that preserves biodiversity, and it's also one of our recreation spots. It is known especially for sailing, for snorkeling and diving, and in fact, it is one of those sites in the Caribbean where Pirates of the Caribbean was first filmed. So it's quite popular amongst those persons who follow that movie. Now, there is no need for me to mention that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a sea, sand, and sun destination as well. But I like to mention it because of our multiple islands. We have the unique opportunity to boast that we have different types of beaches, from the black sand to the powdery white sand and in between. There is even a beach on Canawan on a very hot day where you can see the sand glisten with pink hues. So we have black, we have gold, we have powdery white, and on a really good day, pink. So the point that I like to bring home is that when you come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you just don't get one beach. You have the opportunity to island hop and the opportunity to take your pictures on a multitude of beaches. So in other words, you get multiple vacation opportunities in just one destination. You can't boast like that for other destinations, and that's very important for me to point out. Now, before I finish, I would like to play a video for persons, but I am having a bit of a difficulty opening it.
Is it, sis, is it a link, a hyperlink that you can click on?
It is.
I'm trying to think if you can click on it. Oh, wow. Maybe just go back to it again and hover over it and see if it gives you an option to do the hyperlink thing. So, let's see. It should allow you to, if you do control, you're doing control and enter.
Yeah.
What we could do is we could start talking and whilst, if there's anyone who's got any questions or anything, maybe whilst you're doing that, you could try and find the original video and then just pull it up. What about that?
Yeah, that definitely would work.
Okay, I'll hand back to you then. Sorry, that was the end of the presentation. Wonderful. Let me just wow, sis, I just want to say that was absolutely fantastic presentation. Really, really good. Very informative. I have learned a lot about SVG. And I think, you know, one of the things I was looking at as well, I was thinking about all the amazing things that you have to offer, the different types of sandy beaches, the kite surfing, the, you know, just a whole array of different things. And I also wanted to point out to people, if people weren't aware, there's quite a number of notable musicians like Skinny Fabulous, 21 Savage, Kevin Little, Protege. All of these amazing artists are also from SVG. So you've also, on top of all the beauty of your island, you're just creating amazing cultural icons. So I would love if anyone would like to ask Sister Natasha any questions about St. Vincent and the Grenadines. There are 32 islands, including places like Mystique, the famous Mystique. It sounds like an absolutely sort of wondrous place to visit. And I love the fact that there's so much water and you can actually navigate the islands by water. So please, if you would like to unmute yourself, put your hand up, please feel free to ask Sister Natasha anything you'd like to know about these wonderful islands. Don't be shy. Otherwise, Sister Natasha, I'm going to ask you, maybe I'll ask you to mention a few more things that I might ask you to pull up and see. I mean, you mentioned this farm to table Ital restaurant, for example, in I can't remember where you said it was, but you mentioned that sort of food. What sort of options are there for food and fruit and these sort of things for different diets? Is it quite varied?
It is indeed. There is a lot of restaurants throughout the destination, but as you can imagine, most of it would be fresh seafood. We are particularly proficient at that, but you do have options for vegetarian. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of options for vegetarian as you would find for meat eaters. But
when you say that, you have quite a good selection of fruit, though.
Yes, of course. We're in
and vegetables. We have all the hard food. So actually, I mean, if you plant-based, I mean, you can. I'm sure this, as long as you've got coconuts and papayas and mangoes. I mean, that's a feast.
I just like to clarify because sometimes persons they tend to think that there would be vegetarian only restaurants, and we don't usually have vegetarian only restaurants. All restaurants would offer vegetarian options, but the vegetarian only restaurants, you wouldn't find a lot of that.
And could you tell us a little bit about your local street food? Because I always think for culturally motivated tourism packages, one of the simplest things you can do is just go and eat by the local people. In Trinidad, where I'm from, go by the local roti shop or go by the doubles woman. What sort of things would you expect to eat as street food that tourists could get in St. Vincent and the Grenadines? One
of the top street food you'll get is caldo soup. Now, for persons who are not too familiar with our Eastern Caribbean caldo, that's the young leaf of the Edo plant. It's not the same as one may find in Jamaica, and it's very palatable and very easily. It's very easy to cook, and you would find that a lot as a street food. It's done in many different options where you may have ground provisions inside of it once it's done in a restaurant, but the street food version tends to be in a glass and easily found. You would also find a lot of roasting, especially pork. Roast pork, roast chicken. We love some pork in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
So if you're plant-based, that's not for us then.
You will find roasted vegetables as well. Another important street food for us is corn. So you will find that roast corn. That's very popular in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But as I mentioned, we tend to have more options for meat eaters than vegetarians, but you will find that.
I think that's a common thing across the Caribbean. I mean, except for the Ital, we tend to be quite meat-based at the moment, I would have thought.
And that's an important part too, because you will find a lot of Ital options.
Well, that's good. That's good. So any questions, anyone? Now, don't be shy. We don't have, I mean, we started about 10 minutes late, so we're going to go on for an extra 10. We'll be like about 15, 20 minutes left, so we don't have long. But if anyone has any questions, any comments? If not, I'm going to keep you on the spot, sis. I mean, the presentation was fantastic, but also then I suppose the question I would ask you personally is, as somebody obviously who knows the SVG very well, the islands, the land mass, for yourself, what's your favorite thing to do in St. Vincent? If you land in St. Vincent, where's the first thing that you want to do in terms of, I don't know if it's partying, if it's seeing a particular place, getting away?
To be honest, my favorite thing is being at home, but my second favorite thing is escaping to Mairo. Mairo is the smallest. I didn't mention the names of our principal islands, but it's St. Vincent, Bequia, Mustique, Canouan, Union Island, Mairo, and you have the 3 island resorts, which are Young Island, Palm Island, and Petit St. Vincent. Now, Mairo is my favorite because Mairo is the smallest in terms of population size. There are less than 300 persons living on Mairo. It's one village.
Wow.
Yes. And Myro is located, actually Myro is part of the Tobago Keys Marine Park. So it's located very close there. So when you are in that village environment in Myro, you just have 360 absolutely gorgeous views. And you have a lot of beaches that are very uncrowded. And of course, because Myro is a very small place and there is no airport on Myro, you have to get there by boat. So you tend to feel like you're marooned somewhere where your family might not be able to find you easily or your friends. So that's why I love Myro for that. It's just that intimate Caribbean that and it's not just Myro that's like that, you know. St. Vincent and the Grenadines tend to give persons that Caribbean of yesteryear, you know, where
like
persons are generally
Paradise Island.
Yes, and where persons are generally laid back. It's not overly developed. So it gives you that very island community friendly type feeling where you just feel you land there and you feel like you're at home already. It's not a hostile type of environment. So
and I mean, is it easy to I mean, you mentioned island hopping, and I think for many of us, particularly us Caribbean heritage, I do think the idea of going to more than one island is important. And of course, many of our people born over here might have one parent from one island and another from another. So, you know, you're going to go all the way to the Caribbean. You have the opportunity to go from one to two or more islands. How easy is it to get around? You know, say if you only had 10 days in St. Vincent, could you manage? How many islands do you think you could manage?
You can manage all of them. Now, your tolerance for the water life would impact how you get around. If you have a higher tolerance for moving around via water, and I point that out because a lot of people are not aware of whether or not they can tolerate the sea, and oftentimes people may get seasick and not even know that that's something that is possible for them. So if you have a higher tolerance for sea life, then the easiest and best way to get around, and of course, as I said, easiest in terms of economically, would be via the ferries. For example, the two islands to get between easiest would be Bequia and St. Vincent. So if you have only a short period of time and you want to see at least two islands, I would say St. Vincent, because you typically land on St. Vincent. That's where the principal airport is, and Bequia. Because there are daily ferries there and multiple ferries daily. The others, ferry-wise, it tends to be several times a week, not necessarily multiple times daily. But if money is no object, then the easiest way, of course, would be to fly.
But I imagine the flights are very, very short.
Yes. As soon as you take off, you land.
Yeah. Yes. I know I did a flight from Nassau to, no, there was an option to take a flight from Nassau to Harbour Island in the Bahamas, or to go by boat, and I went by boat precisely because the flight was only like 20 minutes, but the boat out was 3 hours of just crossing the most beautiful Caribbean Sea. And for anyone who hasn't been blessed enough to see it, it is literally like heaven to actually be in a boat on the Caribbean Sea and see that. Oh, it's so beautiful. So also I wanted to ask, well, actually asked on behalf of one of our attendees. The question was, is most of the accommodation available only in the capital or more towards the south in St. Vincent, I believe it was the question.
Funny enough, most of our accommodations are not in the capital. So the accommodations on St. Vincent, if it's hotels, that's outside of the capital in an area called Villa. That's where most of the hotels are located on St. Vincent. In terms of on St. Vincent itself, most accommodations tend to be guest houses and apartments, and they're scattered throughout St. Vincent. So you will never be crowded like some other destinations. So you have that option of being outside of the hustle and bustle. Of course, there are accommodations within Kingston, but as I said, most of them are not in Kingston or near Kingston.
Wonderful. Wow, have we got any more questions? Where can they see a list of accommodation and recommended accommodations?
On the website, on discoversvg.com, once you go under accommodations, there is actually a list that would be the tourism approved button, and you can click on that. And I can also, if anybody wants, I can also send them a link where they can get the list as well.
So we can arrange for that to happen. And then also the carnival, you mentioned you have the hottest carnival in the Caribbean, because it happens the hottest time of year in the Caribbean. Could you tell us a little bit about your carnival, maybe what's distinctive? Because obviously all of we all have a carnival at some point in the year in our islands, and sometimes people might have you call it Vinci Mass, somebody might have a different name. What sort of things happen, and is it similar to Trinidad, for example?
Now, our carnival is different in several ways. I pointed out that in St. Vincent and Grenadines, you still get that old mass where the creators create that and craft that artistic theme that's just not only of the feathers and what's not. That's a primary distinctive way. What in St. Vincent as well, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have carnival taking place throughout the destination. It's not just only in Kingston. So carnival celebrations usually start 2 months before it culminates. It culminates within 2 weeks, starting from the last Friday in June to the first or second week in July. This year, it will be the second week in July. So those 2 weeks are the culmination, and you have all the major activities taking place during that time. Now, over the years, it has changed a bit, especially with COVID. There have been some amendments, but it still culminates with Mardi Gras on Tuesday, and the t-shirts. So I should probably back up a bit and tell you the primary points coming to the close of of carnival. So the high points tend to start from the Friday, where you have various parties and so, and the principal would be give me a moment, huh? Give me a moment. It's been a while for me. Principal would be, I'm trying to remember the name, Soca Monarch. I can't believe I forgot that. I will get licks to that.
Soca Monarch all the time.
No, Soca Monarch is one of the biggest festivals in St. Vincent and Grenadines for carnival, and that's the Saturday nights. And then the Sunday you have more parties, and closer to Sunday night you have what we call Juve, and that is where it's really a street party where you come out in your however you want to dress, because people there are bands for that, but individuals can also dress however they want to and come out and paint, and you don't have to be a part of a band for that. So that's where
it's similar to what we have in Trinidad.
Yes, in terms of that. And then you have the t-shirt bands on the Monday, and on the Tuesday you have the Mardi Gras.
Wow! So it's a fully packed, vibrant, buzzing carnival. And we've got another question as well, which is where is that? I've heard that the locals are not usually welcomed or are able to use and enjoy the beaches on a few of these islands. Is that true in relation to obviously SVG, as that will affect coming as a tourist?
Not in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I'll tell you one thing that's different about our destination. All beaches are public. That tends to be the difference. Even on it doesn't matter if it's a private island, you still have to allow persons access to the beach. So that is one important thing. All beaches are public beaches, and you as an individual can buy property that's close to a beautiful beach, but you can't call it your beach because you have to allow access to the beach. That doesn't mean that persons can pass through your property. You just have to know when you're building, part of your building have to allow, it has to be built in such a way that you must allow the public access to the beach.
So essentially you cannot construct anything that will block other people besides you using that beach.
If you do it, it will be illegal, and of course you will be subject to correction under the law for that. Because over the years, I believe that there have been instances where persons were unhappy with the access that was allowed to them, and then they would have demonstrated, but you cannot deny access to anyone who wants to go to the beach.
Wonderful. I think that's a really important point. There's a really good point that was raised, actually, because there are a number of the islands in the Caribbean who don't have that protection for local people. But luckily, SVG has it. I know, I can't remember who else. I know there's quite a few that do have it as well. But I know, for example, in Jamaica, there's a huge problem going on with Rasta community and access to beaches. And it doesn't seem that they have that protection for the community. Are there any other questions that people would like answered by our sister about St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Okay, in the absence of hearing anything, I'm going to ask, where's our brother Atiba? Are you there? You want to put your, are you able to put your camera on?
I am indeed here. One love.
To hear your feedback on the presentation. It's been absolutely fantastic. And is there anything you wanted to ask or clarify?
No, it's just a beautiful presentation, like I expected. Especially, obviously, hearing about St. Vincent has a lot of water, scuba diving, snorkeling, things of that type of nature. Obviously, as we move forward, I'm just gonna look at formulating things and moving and contacting Natasha at a future date and see how we can obviously elevate what we're doing together.
Sister Natasha, have you mentioned your website? Do you want to mention it again? The website for SVG and any other social media handles that you have or that might be helpful for people who are thinking about finding out more about SVG or booking a holiday or visiting, or, you know, indeed, hopefully we will be putting something together ourselves. But in the meantime, of course, I'm sure that people who are really, after this fantastic presentation, can't wait to get on a plane and get over to your beautiful land.
Of course. So any information relating to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, it would be found on Discover, as in to find, svg.com. You can also shoot me or anyone at our office in the UK an email via svgta.uk@discoversvg.com, and we'll be happy to direct you as best as we can. Now, I couldn't find a video that I wanted. For some reason, it's not happening today, but I do have a video if you'd allow me to end on that note.
Yes, please. We said we were going to have this. We can't go without the video now. Is it opening?
Are you seeing anything?
No. Yeah, okay, it's coming up now. Sometimes there's a delay. Yeah, that's it. We're good. It's good to go. Beautiful. Wow, thank you so much, Natasha. That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you for taking the time and sharing that with us. And that video is, I mean, it just adds emphasis to why now I really want to go. I have to go to SBG. I've always wanted to go, but it's absolutely a stunning destination. So I just want to thank you so much for doing this. And as our brother said, he will no doubt be in touch with you. And I just want to wish you a good evening. Are you in the UK?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so good evening. Otherwise, I would have said good day. But I want to wish you a good evening, and I want to thank everyone for taking the time to share your evening with us. This has been the 13th edition of the Diamond Roundtable. We will continue to build cultural tourism opportunities for our community, and we look forward to seeing you next week. To wish you all a wonderful evening. Go in peace. Blessings, everyone. Thank you.